Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the core message of Eckhart Tolle's modern spiritual classic, The Power of Now. Now, what if I told you that the source of pretty much all our stress and unhappiness comes from just one single fundamental mistake in how we think? Tolle said that does, and that the fix is way simpler than we can even imagine. So Tolle kicks things off with this simple but really powerful story. Picture this. A beggar has been sitting on an old box for more than 30 years. One day, a stranger asks him, "Hey, have you ever looked inside that box?" The beggar just kind of scoffs, right? He's like, "It's just an empty box." But the stranger insists, so he pries it open, and he finds it's jam-packed with gold. He's been living as a beggar while sitting on a massive treasure his entire life.
Of course, this story isn't really about a beggar. It's a mirror. Tolle is basically that stranger, asking us to look inside. And it forces us to ask a really profound question. What immense treasure are we ignoring every single day just because it's never occurred to us to look? So what is this treasure he's talking about? Tolle calls it the radiant joy of being and this deep, unshakable peace that's already inside us. But there's a huge roadblock in our way, one that's so close to us we don't even see it. And that obstacle? It's our own mind. Okay, so here's the absolute heart of the problem. We are completely 100% identified with that constant stream of thoughts in our heads. We believe that voice is us. Tolle's whole argument is that this nonstop mental noise is the very thing that keeps us from finding that inner stillness where our true nature, our treasure, is waiting. Now, this idea completely flips one of the most famous statements in all of philosophy. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." Well, Tolle says that's the fundamental mistake. The deeper truth, he says, is that you're not the thinker, you're the silent awareness that's behind the thinker. I mean, that is a massive, massive shift in perspective. And this habit of identifying with our thoughts is what creates what Tolle calls the ego. He describes it as a phantom self, basically a fictional character made up by the mind. And because it's not real, it's super insecure. It lives in this constant state of fear and want, always trying to defend its fragile little identity. So Tolle asked this really direct question, and I'm going to ask it to you right now. Can you, this very second, just be free of your mind whenever you choose? Can you simply decide to stop that inner chatter? If you tried and you couldn't, you are definitely not alone. But Tolle says this is a crucial thing to realize. If you can't find the off button, it means the mind is using you, not the other way around. The instrument has totally taken over. And that, he argues, is the real root of all our suffering. So, if the mind has taken over, how does it hold on to its power? Well, it runs on a very specific kind of fuel, the illusion of time. See, the egoic mind is completely obsessed with psychological time. The present moment, the now, is actually a threat to it. Why? Well, think about it. The past gives the ego its identity, its whole me story. And the future? The future holds the promise of fulfillment. One day when I finally get that thing, then I'll be happy. But both are just illusions that pull us away from the only reality that actually exists, right now. And Tolle uses this incredible quote from the 13th century mystic Meister Eckhart to show this isn't some brand new idea. Eckhart said, "Time is what keeps the light from reaching us. There is no greater obstacle to God than time. Our obsession with time literally puts a veil between us and a much deeper reality." So what's the result of constantly living in the past and future? Tolle has a name for it, the anxiety gap. You're physically here, right now, but your mind is off projecting itself into some future that doesn't even exist yet. And it's usually imagining all the things that could go wrong. That gap between where you are and where your mind is becomes this breeding ground for constant anxiety and stress. Okay, so we've established the mind and its addiction to time are the problem. So what's the escape plan? How do we get out of this trap? Well, Tolle offers a solution that is shockingly simple, though that doesn't always mean it's easy to do. The whole solution is to learn to disidentify from your mind. And you do this by just stepping back and becoming the watcher of the thinker, like a silent witness to your own thoughts. So instead of being the voice in your head, you become the awareness that listens to it. And this isn't just theory, it's a real practice. You can actually do it right now. So, step 1, start listening to that voice in your head. Step 2, just be there as a witness, don't get involved. Step 3, Don't judge what you hear. When you do this, you have this profound realization. Oh, there's the voice, and here I am listening to it. You start to actually feel your true self, the silent watcher, behind all that mental noise. The second you start watching your thoughts, something pretty incredible starts to happen. The thought loses its power over you, and it just kind of subsides, because you're no longer feeding it with your attention. This creates a little break in the mental stream, what Tolle calls a gap of no mind. And it's in these brief gaps that you get to taste this incredibly deep inner stillness and peace. So what happens as you keep doing this simple practice and these gaps of no mind start showing up more and more often? Well, this becomes the path back to what Tolle calls our true nature. In that quiet stillness, you connect with what Tolle calls being. Now, you can't understand this with your mind. It's that eternal, ever-present life that exists beyond your physical form. It's your deepest self, your true nature, and you can only feel it when the mind is quiet. And that felt connection with being is what Tolle means by enlightenment. He uses the Buddha's super simple definition, the end of suffering. So it's not some superhuman achievement. It's actually our natural state once we learn to rise above thought and stop being enslaved by our own minds. This shift completely transforms how you experience life. Your mind becomes this amazing tool you can pick up when you need it and put down when you don't. Instead of being tormented by that internal voice, deep peace becomes your default state. And real joy and love, they start bubbling up from within you, not depending on anything outside of you. And all of this brings us to one last, really powerful question at the very core of this teaching. It's a question to kind of carry with you long after this explainer is done. Who would you be without your personal story? I mean, really think about that for a second. If you let go of your identification with your mind's story, all the memories, the future worries, the labels, the problems, what's left? Tolle suggests that what's left is your true self, the timeless, formless awareness that was there all along, just waiting for you to rediscover it in the power of now.